This artifact you speak of, the one that you destroyed, its origins do not lie with the Sith, but rather with the Infinite Empire that tried to enslave them. The artifact seems to have been used as a form of punishment for the corrupt, one that separates mind from body and then casts it into imprisonment. It probably came into the Sith's possession around the time of the failed invasion. The ancient Sith were once ruled by a single man, a wise and powerful king named Addis. Under his rule, the Sith were a prosperous and honorable species who had ambitions to expand their influence across the stars to create a galactic society based on principles not too dissimilar from the Ichanis. But these ambitions were quashed after Addis sacrificed himself to save his people from the enslavement of the Infinite Empire. Addis's Sith believed him to be immortal and that his rule would thus be eternal. When Addis was killed, they were unprepared to deal with the vacuum of power that was created. At first, it was assumed that Addis's advisors, the Sith King's proclaimed successors, would be the ones to lead the Sith into the future, to claim the riches of an unknown galaxy using the technology they had acquired from the Infinite Empire. Yet Akira Khan Sin, leader of the Brotherhood of Shadow, believed himself to be the one who should lead the Sith, and so he betrayed Addis's designated successors in an effort to install himself and his sect of assassins as the unchallenged rulers of the Sith peoples. Ultimately, the Brotherhood of Shadow was defeated, and their insurrection quashed. As punishment for their betrayal, Akira Khan Sin and his Brotherhood of Shadow were condemned to imprisonment within the Infinite Empire's artifact. It is there they would spend an eternity reflecting on the corruptions that had consumed them. Akira Khan Sin was the Sith who led the Brotherhood of Shadow, a faction of warriors and assassins who pioneered the strategies and tactics which ultimately defeated Korriban's alien invaders. He was said to be a charismatic figure, a powerful force user, and skilled in the arts of combat. When the Infinite Empire invaded Korriban, boasting advanced technologies and superior numbers, it was clear to Akira Khan Sin that they would never be victorious if the war was fought using an approach that relied solely upon brute force. Thus, the Brotherhood of Shadow was born, a sect of elite Sith warriors that chose to forsake the individualistic nature of their species and see themselves as a single entity, an entity that answered only to the Sith King. Whilst the Sith King's armies weathered the wrath of the Infinite Empire, it was the Brotherhood of Shadow that covertly waged a silent war behind the enemy's own lines, decimating its tactical and strategical competence by assassinating the key military figures responsible for coordinating the planetary invasion of Korriban. The repercussions of this silent war were soon felt as the Infinite Empire's armies began to collapse upon themselves in the absence of an effective command. Whilst personally leading the armies which bore the full might of the Infinite Empire, Addis, the King of the Sith, was killed. A dying King Addis entrusted the burden of kingship to be spread amongst his most trusted of advisors, proclaiming them the rightful successors to his rule. This move angered Akira Khan Sin, who believed himself to be the one worthy of leading the Sith peoples. After his insurrection was stopped, the rightful rulers of the Sith designated that Akira Khan Sin and his Brotherhood of Shadow be condemned to imprisonment within the Infinite Empire's artifact. The artifact itself was a crude device, not suited to harboring beings who wielded power on the scale of the Brotherhood of Shadow. I suspect as generations passed, Akira Khan Sin had learned how to interfere with the workings of the artifact from within, allowing him to gradually impose his will upon the great void that imprisoned him. But considering his physical body had long since been destroyed, he was unable to escape the artifact, only managing to project himself as a specter into our reality when an individual was foolish enough to tamper with the artifact. And even then, in our world, without the power of the artifact to provide for him, his spirit would have to leech from the life force of the living to fuel and maintain his presence here. The physical bodies of Akira Khan Sin and his Brotherhood of Shadow have long since been destroyed by the ravages of time. To exist in this reality, the spirits of these ancient warriors would have to assume control of actual living people. Hosts, if you will. But the true difficulty lies not with simply finding a host, but rather with finding a suitable host. In life, Akira Khan Sin was a powerful being, and so requires the body of an equally powerful subject. In his eyes, you would have seemed the most suitable of subjects to serve as the physical body for the Brotherhood of Shadow. The Temple of Shadow is an ancient and forgotten structure built by King Addis's designated successors to house the artifact which the Brotherhood of Shadow was imprisoned within. Constructed out of material scavenged from a captured enemy temple, it also became the focal point for the Brotherhood of Shadow's power. Whilst it is true that through your actions the artifact was destroyed, the spirits trapped within survived. Within you, Revan, a Duros named Mechanic and Shana May are the remains of the Brotherhood of Shadow. When the artifact was destroyed, the Brotherhood of Shadow's fractured remnants penetrated all who had witnessed their destruction with intentions to leech from their life force in an effort to survive. Scattered and weakened, these remnants must be returned to the focal point, the place in which its essence can be restored and its power once again made whole. The focal point is this very chamber, the heart of the Temple of Shadow. The ritual I have performed on each of you, its purpose was to siphon the Brotherhood of Shadow's remnants from within you and allow them to be reunited. The raw concentration of energy that you see before you is for all intents and purposes the Brotherhood of Shadow. With its power reunited, all that remains for them is to find a means to exercise that power. A host. The power of the Brotherhood of Shadow lies in the ability to summon forth these creatures of betrayal at will, and only one, the dominant will, may exercise that power. When the Brotherhood of Shadow is introduced to a new host, the existing dominant will of the Brotherhood must confront and defeat the will of this host. The victor is granted the Brotherhood of Shadow's power, yet also suffers a loss of identity when they become its personification. Since ancient times, and more so since their imprisonment, the Brotherhood of Shadow, rather than seeing themselves as a group of individuals united by a cause, see themselves as merely a single entity. These beliefs were personified in the Brotherhood of Shadow's mantra, the Code of the Shadow. Then, at last, it is time.